Yeah. Hello. Thank you so much. My name is Irbad Ibrahim. I'm a consultant from the Republic of Ghana in West Africa. There is a damning report that has been done by Reuters pointing to the fact that billions of dollars worth of gold are carted out of Africa every year. And the destination is the United Arab Emirates, UAE. And of course, Dubai is one of the trading hubs in gold in the whole world. And according to the research that was done by Reuters, many of the gold exports from Africa were not recorded in our exports records, and that taxes that should have been paid on such exportations or exports might have not been done. You see, it is said that leadership is cause and all other things are effect. When you travel far and wide within this continent, you'll be shocked at the level of abject poverty there is. As Africans, we are not able to refine anything. We operate a Gagisberg economy, as we say here in the Republic of Ghana. We are like hewers of wood and drawers of water. We put in all the man hours in gold fields, mining centers, alluvial rivers and creeks. And we feed the international market only raw materials that are refined and brought back into our countries and sold to us at astronomical prices. So I ask today, what happens to Africa's gold? This report by Reuters points to the sheer preponderance of insensitivity on the part of some people. Gold is precious metal. Gold is expensive. And God being so good, a good number of African countries are sitting on large reserves of precious minerals. In my country, the Republic of Ghana, there are giant multinational mining companies that operate here. What happens to our gold? There are times we hear reports of helicopters laden with gold bars crash landing. Where do those gold bars go? And how does the export of these gold bars positively impact the lives of ordinary Ghanaians and Africans? I ask again, in Africa, where does our gold go? Look at our mining areas. Prestea, Obuasi, and other places. These natural resources are being depleted. These towns are not being developed. They are being destroyed. They have been hollowed out. Road construction cannot be done in an effective way because the ground is weak, because of the deployment of heavy equipment to those mining centers. Have you ever heard any European country giving a concession to an African company to come and destroy its land and water bodies? The United States of America has got up to 50 states. It mines in some of those states. Have you ever read anywhere that the US is welcoming an African company to mine in the United States and destroy American soil or American lands? Why do we do this to ourselves as a people? Various, companies are exploring all the time. Our farmlands are being destroyed. People are mining with reckless abandon. Things they wouldn't do in their own countries, they are doing on the African continent. And such activities are done in collusion with some of our leaders. This Reuters report indicates that billions worth of gold are exported to the UAE, the United Arab Emirates, evading taxes, the taxpayer not benefiting from it, from the returns. Some few people sign papers in the dead of the night or in obscure rooms. People are manipulating the system and milking this continent to dry. We say we are independent. Ghana, my country, was the first sub-Saharan African country to gain independence quite early in 1957. What do we have to show for it after 6 decades? What do other countries within the sub-region, Nigeria, that has a lot of oil, Niger, that has large reserves of natural gas, what do these countries have to show for it? What do they have to show for decades of being independent? So I'm saddened by this report and the revelation that ordinary citizens on the African continent don't reap any benefits from the gold that is exported. We have become hewers of wood and drawers of water. We feed only raw materials to the international market, only for these raw materials to be refined, brought back to us and sold to us at astronomical prices. When will Africa and its people wake up from a deep slumber? As the world runs, we crawl. In some cases, we are even stagnant and static. We aren't even moving. And the only resources we have, these precious minerals, and in some cases oil, how much of these concessions do we control as Africans? Multinational companies are giving tax holidays. We muzzle local companies and businesses out of work. So it is very important that we do an introspection of ourselves as a people. It is said all the time, leadership is cause. All other things are effect. What happens to our gold? Even in Ghana, in the Republic of Ghana, most of the debate that is being had is on bread and butter issues. People are struggling. To make 3 square meals a day. The minimum wage is very low. But somebody or a group of insensitive people will continue to become sellouts. In 2016 alone, according to the Reuters report, up to $15.1 billion worth of gold came from Africa into the UAE alone. How much more other countries? And most of the gold that left Africa and went to the Emirates, according to the Reuters report, maybe taxes were not paid. Maybe the state didn't benefit. Only the top 1%, 5%, top 10% would benefit from millions of dollars. How insensitive can we be to ourselves as a people? Let's begin to hold the feet of our elected leaders to the fire of accountability. Let's hold them accountable, because leadership is cause and all other things are effect. What happens to our gold that is carted out of Africa? What dividends, what returns do the ordinary citizens of this continent get from our gold and other natural resources? Begin to ask questions. Be courteous, but talk truth to power. Seek accountability. Ask questions. God didn't put us on this rich continent for us to be poor. Why would people look at the virgin, lands, virgin forests in European countries? Look at the United States of America and how it's preserving its plantations, vegetation, and all that. Why give a concession to a multinational company that comes to Africa to destroy our lands and water bodies? Why? Show me one single African company that has been given a concession to mine in the US. Show me one. Because the United States deems its soil, its land, too sacred for it to be desecrated. Show me one single African company that has been given a concession to mine in Europe. But we open our doors and welcome multinational companies with warm embrace. People come to do exploration. People come to plunder and pillage, raping this continent. While our leaders, some of them, collude with some of these nation and continent wreckers. So I ask again, what happens to our gold on this continent? Who is benefiting from our natural resources while the ordinary people are living in squalor? There are not enough ambulances to take care of people in some of these mining areas. No proper healthcare delivery, no proper education for the children there. The time has come for us to hold our leaders accountable. What happens to our gold? Let's be courteous in one hand, but not be sissy and cowardly to speak truth to power. How many times have you heard of a heli crash landing laden with gold bars coming from these mining areas? Do these gold bars travel through the Kotoka International Airport, which is Ghana's premier and only international airport? Are people cutting away this precious metal, this precious mineral, to neighboring countries, and they find ways of, cheating the system? Why don't we begin to ask questions? The UAE alone attracted $15.1 billion worth of gold coming from Africa in 2016 alone, according to a Reuters report. How much of that money benefited the street hawkers, children whose parents can't keep them in school, and therefore they have to hawk in the street to make ends meet? Why are we being so insensitive as Africans, especially those in positions of power and positions of privilege? I ask again, what happens to Africa's gold and other precious minerals? A select few welcome top executives of multinational companies, sign papers, transfer loads of cash into offshore accounts, while the ordinary people are suffering. How can we be so insensitive to this continent? How can this continent rise if all we do is allow others to plunder and pillage it, rape it, milk it dry? I hope this is food for thought. And we hope there will be a change of heart regarding the current leaders we have on the continent. If not, we can only hope and pray for a new generation of leaders that have the African continent at heart and would not be sellouts, robbing us of proper health care, going to London or going to New York City for checkups every now and then. Can't you make African hospitals as good as those you go to? Endorsing some of the universities in these countries, can't you make African universities as good as the universities you go to? Are we really independent as a continent? Or we are still tied to the umbilical cord of our former colonial masters? So I believe the time has come for citizens to demand accountability in a very civil, courteous, and peaceful way. But that doesn't take away the fact that we should speak truth to power. What happens to the gold that is mined and carted away from this continent? Thank you so much, and I hope this helps.